Jack Smith got out a little too far over his skis. I'm talking about the Supreme Court and the immunity that is being delivered. Significant immunity to presidents, not just Donald Trump, but future presidents as well. This is a big deal. So here's the headline. It just broke a short time ago in the Wall Street Journal. Supreme Court rules Trump has significant immunity from prosecution. The court said ex-presidents retain significant immunity for acts taken while in office, which could hamper efforts to prosecute Trump for his alleged attempts to overturn the election, et cetera, et cetera. So this is huge, right? We got the ruling last week on Friday that they couldn't use this very narrow Sarbanes-Oxley code to go after all the J6 protesters. Jack Smith was trying to take this very specific law and apply it in a very broad way. And what came down? Well, you even had Justice Ketanji Jackson Brown voting or writing an opinion that that was going too far. I mean, a little strange with Amy Coney Barrett, but nonetheless, I mean, that was really quite something to see, right? And then you couple that with what we just saw here today. This was the big kahuna. Everybody was waiting on immunity. Was Trump going to get it? And while it's not perfect, right? He doesn't have full, total immunity. He doesn't have personal immunity. He does have immunity for any alleged crimes that may have been committed while in office. And the reason that's important is think about what happens, right? We were talking about this just a couple of months ago. President Obama, right? Didn't he actually mistakenly kill somebody, I believe it was somebody who had ties to America, in a drone attack because he got the wrong one? And shouldn't that family be able to go after President Obama? I mean, if you don't have immunity, theoretically you could. Or think about Roosevelt and in the internment camps, right, in California, and all the Asians that were rounded up in World War II. In other words, that's another one where you could have gone back. But they're saying effectively that these official acts make it so that you can't go after. So here's the big deal here. Here's the big deal. They're not going to get their giant trial. They're not going to be able to lock them up and throw away the key before November. Eli Honig on CNN pointed this out quite articulately. Let's listen.
This case will not go before the election. It will not be tried before the election, and here's why. Supreme Court has just said there is such thing as criminal immunity. The test, as we anticipated, is essentially official acts versus unofficial acts. We're sending it back to the district court, and this is an important detail, the court says several times, whatever the district court finds can be appealed before trial. Jack Smith had made an argument of, well, maybe the district judge, the trial judge can work it out and send it to the jury, and then the jury can separate official from unofficial acts. Several times in this opinion, the Supreme Court, the majority, says explicitly whatever the judge decides about what's official or unofficial, what's immune or not immune, that can be appealed back up. 0% chance that happens before November.
So 0. You got it? Okay, so that whole dream that they had envisioned just evaporated. Up in smoke overnight, thanks to the Supreme Court. So you can be assured, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to start hearing a lot of calls to effectively dismantle the Supreme Court as you know it. We heard Nancy Pelosi say it just a week ago, that she had no faith in the Supreme Court. Chuck Schumer said that over and over again. And now, take a look at Van Jones right here, reacting to this. He's kind of like a big deal in the Democrat Party, speaking on CNN just moments ago.
Van, I think that's... Go ahead, Van. I think you're right, Scott, as far as it goes, but we also know the system's a little bit broken on the congressional side. I think the founders really believed in something which we don't talk about much, which is called Republican virtues. Not Republican versus Democrat. That didn't even exist then. But that anyone who we would elevate would have the virtues to preserve the republic. That was, you look at the Federalist Papers, they didn't imagine that you would have people elevated that act the way that Donald Trump is acting and act the way a lot of people in public office act today. So this is a real test. I'm concerned. It's a real test. If you have someone in office who has no respect for the law, no respect for Republican virtues, no respect for the Constitution, no respect for norms, and then you have a Supreme Court that says, well, you know what? We've never before had to look at whether you could commit crimes. The Supreme Court says there's some crimes you can commit. That's scary, man. Like that's not. I mean, you can't just hope that somehow, you know, the Senate, which is broken, is going to fix this. The Supreme Court is functioning, and it is basically giving a green light for criminal activity in the Oval Office under certain circumstances, which I think, given the present state of our country.
All right. So we're getting set up for something here. Let's be very, very clear. I mean, don't forget, they're so partisan. They are so darn partisan that it's their way or the highway. Do not forget Hillary Clinton's infamous quote in August of 2020 when she went on her friend's podcast, who used to be a PR person for her, Jennifer Palmieri, and said, my advice to Biden, don't give up no matter what. If it is close, you do not give up. You hang on for dear life. So it was close. And what did Donald Trump do? He took Hillary Clinton's advice, except he applied it to him and he hung on for dear life. But apparently you're just not allowed to do that if you're on the other side. It's one of the reasons why this election really, for the sake of all of us, right, can't be close. And I don't think it will be, actually. You keep looking at, as I do, all of these polls. You look at what was going on in the Midwest, for example, just before we got the actual debate. I mean, he's up in Wisconsin. He's up in Pennsylvania. He's up in Michigan. He's up everywhere, suggesting that, in fact, that path to 270 is it's well-oiled, shall we say, for Donald Trump. It looks like, all things being equal, and I don't even think, even if they change out the candidate, they're going to have a shot. I think they're going to have so much turmoil. For goodness sakes, I mean, Jamal Brown, just remember Jamal and AOC and that kind of chaos. I mean, they were acting like circus clowns. They're on the stage recently trying to excite people about Jamal. And guess what? Jamal's no more. He is leaving the squad. He is leaving Congress. So you've already got a part of the party that's really struggling and they're at odds with each other. I want to show you, though, what Joe is trying to do. He's trying to present himself as a changed man. And that's what we saw over the weekend. You see, changed as soon as he did a teleprompter to read, apparently a teleprompter and a cup of coffee. I do believe it was some MSNBC contributor on the morning show that said, oh, you know, it was just too late at night for him. It was 9 o'clock at night. I'm sorry. He had a week off. It was 9 o'clock at night. What about that 3 a.m. phone call? You know. Remember that commercial that they were running during the Clinton-Obama primary? You know who's picking up the phone? It's Dr. Jill. It's Dr. Jill all day long because apparently Pops has got to be in bed, asleep by 9 o'clock. Probably by 7, like if we're going to be completely honest. But he's a changed man. He went out and he read that teleprompter like nobody's business. Take a look.
Let me close with this. I know I'm not a young man. State the obvious. Well, I know. Well, I don't.
You're shouting Joe, not Trump.
Folks, I don't walk as easy as I used to. I don't speak as smoothly as I used to. I don't debate as well as I used to. But I know what I do know. I know how to tell the truth. I know right from wrong. And I know how to do this job. I know how to get things done. And I know, like millions of Americans know, when you get knocked down, you get back up.
Not a bad speech. Completely different person. It was like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, right? Like who? Oh, wait, who's that Joe Biden? Because that Joe Biden doesn't remind me anything of the Joe Biden that we all saw on stage on Thursday night. I'm looking at some of your commentary and someone suggested maybe a sundowners. Gosh, I hadn't thought of that. I mean, look, sometimes when you get old, night becomes more difficult and you're not playing with as much capacity in the evening. I don't know. Again, I'm not a doctor, but I would say that something's up. Something is up.